Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hopefully, you guys had a good time with family, friends, all of that, and travel was okay. I know it's gross travel up by the Great Lakes, and I know central US is going to get a gnarly storm from South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa. All just a nice little streak of the upper Midwest is going to get some pretty serious snow. So please be safe out there, okay? I know there's a ton of travel happening in the next few days, and I want all you guys back. I don't want any accidents happening. You know what I'm going to do? Hang on, this is bugging me. I had the heat gun out, and it was one of those things. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put it away. I'll put it away. I'll put it away, and it's been sitting out for hours. So I'm gonna put it away now. I don't know why I procrastinated because I was getting ready for you guys. That's why. So we have the reason for the delay in between sessions here is because I went and picked up a buddy of mine came down from Ohio to Florida, and he was on vacation with his family over at the Space Coast, and he stopped by my shop and picked up some parts for me that I wanted to put on the limo, technically put back on the limo. I had taken them off, and then I changed my mind. I want something different. So he brought down the parts for me, which was really cool. Saved me a ton of time, ton of hassle. He knew exactly what he was doing, so got all the right parts. But I wanted to show you guys one of the cool things that came down was the distributor. Now, this is the original distributor that came on the Blueprint 383 stroker. I removed it and put on the clear one, which I'll show you in a few minutes, because I thought the clear one would look cool with the rotor spinning around and the contact, and you get that blue arc, but it's actually just a little blue light it spins so fast. It's just a little thin blue band of light. Then you have the air cleaner in the way. You can't really see it unless you get in there and kind of duck your head underneath and look. It's cool for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to use it as a backup just in case we have any problems with this. Now, as far as I know, MSD makes the distributors for Blueprint. So it's either MSD or Mallory. I'm not sure which. Either one, great option. They both make high quality stuff, and I don't worry about it. The plug wires are branded Blueprint, but they look exactly like MSD plugs. So I don't know. I'm guessing they just print them differently. So I'm going to show you guys that. And because I'm blocking the view here and I don't want to do that, you can tell that we have some paint on the windshield of the car. I just did some touch-up stuff on the car, and I painted the rain rail in the front edge here. And I'll show you something cool on that too. So I'm going to show you guys how to take care of overspray. The quick, easy way. There's also the old-fashioned, harder way. So I'll show you that too. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go inside the engine bay. I'll show you the new distributor, show you some of the plug routing, that sort of thing. And I'll talk a little bit about how to install a distributor. There's tons of videos on how to put a distributor in a small block Chevy. I'm not breaking any kind of new ground here, but I will give you a cool trick that helps out a lot. I've done this a bunch of times, and it saves a ton of time and calculating and stuff. So pop the hood, and I still have a ton of stuff in here, including the light that I was working with. And bring you guys over here. And you can see, let me just do a side view here, sort of ish. So here's this can stay here. It's our new distributor. It's a really long way for me to stretch. I don't know if you can see where the edge of the car is, but then going all the way up here is a long way. So this is our distributor. It's made by, I believe it's made by MSD. It might be made by Mallory. I'm not sure which. These are our new plugs. This is the new routing for our plugs. These are our temporary wire harnesses, our wire guides. Now, one of the trick things I did and why I had the heat gun out, I don't know if you remember, the engine temp sensor used to come straight across here, over by this wire harness into this, and then into this loop, which came down and was part of the cooling fan. Sorry, part of the cooling fan system to get the cooling fans on and off. We're going to take care of our dry throat with this. By the way, I got the last 9 in Southwest Florida. Last 9 cans. If you're looking for that stuff, good luck. So one of the trick things I did was on this, which normally you just have 2 plug wires, so you just have a 2-slot guide. I used the 3-slot guide and ran the coolant or the engine block temp up underneath these 2 wires. It runs all the way over to the back, under the brake booster, and over to this line, which goes in and then also feeds the this line goes in and feeds the fan control relay for the Holly. So a little cleaner setup. It's not coming over the steering rack, over the suspension, anything like that. This is our little mud flap, rain flap. And yes, this is dirty and dusty, and this hasn't really been cleaned up since we started working on this. The other thing I did was I ran the Holly EFI, the main vacuum lead, to the PBC versus the brake booster, and it is going to run way, way better pulling off of this versus pulling from the brake booster. So I think it's going to run a lot smoother. This is the only side that I've done with the plug wires so far. You can tell I still have this side to go, but this is a much cleaner setup, less chance of the plugs getting burned on the headers, all of that. It's a much, much cleaner setup. So installing a distributor, I'm going to bring you guys back out for this. Don't really need to see anything else under here. Nothing else really has changed. I still have the wiring to work on for the alternator for getting the car to shut off. That's still in progress. New distributor, the car starts now without giving it any throttle or anything. It starts right up. There's no problem. I can stand outside the car and start it without an issue, which is fantastic. This is just a better distributor, better plug wires. It's just a nicer setup overall. So since I've got you guys here and the hood's open, I'll show you this rain rail just real quick since we're already here. So this rain rail, I'm trying to get a better shot of it. There we go. This is the catch where water comes down. And normally you would have windshield wipers here and a windshield wiper there, over right there. And this is where your water catches. And this was originally black, but when the hood was down with the white hood, you could still see underneath here because there was no cowling. Normally on a production car, there's a piece of plastic cowling that covers this stuff. On this car, they removed that when they did the build. So you still saw kind of half black, half crusty, whatever. So this all got brushed out, and 2 coats of primer and then 2 coats of just regular. I'll show you the paint I used if you guys are curious. This paint actually works pretty well. So we have 2 coats of the Bare Gloss White Premium, indoor, outdoor use, drip and run resistant, excellent adhesion. And once polished, this comes out to a really nice gloss white, which matches pretty close to the original paint on this. I don't know if you guys know this. There's like 40 different colors of white out there for automotive paint. There's a lot of whites. So we just did some touch up on the rain rail while we had the hood open and while I'm letting the engine cool down so we could replace distributor and stuff like that. There's also a ton of other touch up, as you can see, but that's why the windshield is kind of cloudy. And I'll show you how I'm going to take care of this. So we'll go back to the distributor, and I want to bring you guys over here. So we have kind of, you can still sort of see the distributor in the back there. Okay. So if I stand here, you guys can see it. Okay. So here's our old distributor and our old plug wires. And these plug wires are from Jags. So this is a very simple setup. Now, the cool part about this one is it's clear. So as the rotor spins around and it's contacting each and every plug, it makes a little spark. And I'll take the cap off and show you guys how that works. But this gear is hooked up to the camshaft. And as the camshaft turns, it turns this and everything is timed correctly. Now you still have your timing up here, and you also have your vacuum advance and retard right here. So let me pull the cap off. To pull the cap off, you just have 4. These are pretty simple. And it's funny, I use the same screwdriver for the IAC. So screwdriver goes in. And if you can see, this little arm comes out. And I'll do it again over on this guy. Hopefully you can see it. I got a bunch of crap in the way. So it's a normal flat blade driver. And you press down on it and then turn. Because you can see the spring in there. So I'm pressing down. And this is hard when it's not on an engine. See how that little leg pops out? You do that 4 times because it's in all 4 corners. You have to get your plug wires out of the way sometimes. This is hard to do when you're just holding it. It's so much easier when it's on the engine. So we've got that off. This guy is now removable. Okay. But we still have our HEI power plugged in. So we need to undo the safety catches on that. Try not to break a nail. And every time you do one, it does the other. And that powers your HEI. Now, this is an HEI distributor versus a coil distributor. A coil distributor will have something like this, which is a coil, and it'll have a plug wire that goes from here to the center of the distributor. Now, this is kind of old school, and but it works great. There's nothing wrong with it. Just HEI is usually more efficient. And there's even more efficient, which we're going to add to this. We're going to add an MSD ignition. So I'll show you that, guys. I'll show you that one later. So now we're unplugged here from underneath. We've undone our 4 screws. This guy comes apart. So this is called your distributor cap. And this is called your distributor. So this looks so weird with everything clear because you can like see everything in there. Is that pretty cool? And it is kind of interesting when it spins around to see that blue arc, but it's not worth it if you're lacking in performance. So like I said, it was kind of novel for the first like 2 weeks. And also you can see that some of this is browning out and there's some corrosion on the screws. So it's not all that awesome. So, like I said, we'll keep it as a spare. It's a nice backup in case something happens to this one, and it does work. So, we'll keep it for a year. If we don't use it, we'll sell it. That's the general rule here. Keep it for a year. If we don't ever use it, then we can sell it. So here's your distributor. This is a General Motors distributor. You have different manufacturers for different ones, and here you can see the gear drive down below. So as the cam spins, this pinion works. You can actually see the wear on the pinion. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I can see it on this side. So, and then you have your vacuum advance and retard right here. Normally it's just advance. That's what the vacuum does. It will pull this timing. It'll pull this, like I'm holding the rotor, and you can see the little springs in there working to pull this guy back and forth. If you see the springs right there. So normally it's to advance, but depending on how you set it up, it can actually retard timing. And that's not a negative word when you're building engines. The actual definition of retard is to hinder or hold back. And in this case, what you're doing is you're holding back timing. You're slowing the timing down so that you can get a better spark on the combustion stroke of the engine. That's all it is. So, sorry, that's the term. That's what we use. That's how we say it. So, this guy spins around really, really, really fast, way faster than I can spin him. And there's a blue arc that goes around here. And like I said, it does look pretty cool for the first 5 minutes. Now, here's another fun fact. This is a dual purpose. So, this isn't on all engines. Like I said, I'm talking about small block Chevys, big block Chevys. If you look in here, see that little tab inside? That is to drive your oil pump. Now the oil pump for the small block Chevy is in the back. And so when the cam gear interacts with this, it's not only turning the distributor, it's also activating the oil pump, because there's a keyway on the shaft of the oil pump, and this thing turns the oil pump. It's a little V-notch that goes in there. And so your cam is turning the distributor. It's also turning your oil pump. Cam's very important. Multi-purpose. So when you're installing this guy, and again, this is for a small block Chevy. This isn't for, there's different ways to do different things. I'm just going to orient it how it would be oriented in the car. Normally, you're going to have your vacuum towards kind of the number 6, number 8 cylinder. So just for reference, 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. So driver's front is 1. It's an easy way to remember that. So you're going to have this sort of towards the 6. It also depends on where you have clearance in your, on your intake with, you might be a blower in the way or something else, but you can rotate this wherever you want, wherever you need it, really. That's not too critical. So you can rotate this guy wherever you need. Your vacuum usually goes to your carburetor or your EFI system. So we're just going to do this normally, like how you would see it on most cars. This is going to go towards your number 6. Then you want to do this guy towards your number 1. So if he's towards number 6, he's towards number 1. He's going to look something like that. It's going to be pretty close to that. Fairly similar. And it's weird because it's clear. So there's your point right there, and then there's your vacuum. So they're almost 90 degrees from each other. Now, here's how to make it really, really easy on yourself on installing the distributor. A lot of guys have a oil pump alignment tool that they'll reach down when they have the distributor out. They'll reach down and they'll align the keyway so that it matches up with this. Not really necessary, and I'll explain why. So first thing you want to do is bring your engine to top dead center of compression, and that's very easy to do. You can do it with or without tools. I have a really cool. As I jack up my new paint. Good job, Kev. I have a really cool tool. So to find out top dead center on your small block Chevy is very easy. Take out the number one spark plug and get a, what is it, a 5/8? And at least on mine it is. Crank your engine over. If it's sucking your thumb in, put your thumb over the spark plug hole. If it's sucking your thumb in, it's obviously the wrong stroke. If it's pushing and goes psh, when you release your thumb, you're on the compression stroke. That means keep going until, and you should have timing marks on there. Now you're on your compression stroke. Come over until you're at 0 on timing and 0 on your damper or your crank or whatever marker you have. That means you're on the very top of your compression stroke. That's what is called top dead center. Another cool tool, this is a whistle. This threads in to the number one spark plug hole. You can actually use it on any spark plugs. This works on 4 cylinders, 8 cylinders, 12s, doesn't matter. If you're trying to find top dead center on any cylinder, you can use this. Now he has a little whistle on the end. So when you crank over, he's going to go, I can't, he's going to do like a really loud whistle. And then as soon as you go past that, it's going to stop real quick because it's pulling in air instead of whistling out air. So it'll go, and it'll stop. That means you can go back a little bit. Or if you really want to keep cranking, you can go 1 and 9, 7/8 revolutions again and come back to 0. But this is a really handy tool. These are about $20 and you can use them. You can use them Miatas, you can use them on the Viper, on whatever, but they're really handy. And I don't know. The thumb method also works really well, especially when you have a nice timing marks on your damper and your block. You can actually find it real quick, real easy then. So this is handy, but not necessary. So take your block to top dead center. I should say, take your rotating assembly to top dead center. Now you can pull your old distributor out. Get your new distributor ready by having this at the vacuum at 6 and this at about 1. So if I'm in there, it's going to be kind of like that. It's going to be pretty close to 90 degrees this way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in. I'm going to drop this in behind the manifold. And what's going to happen is these gears are going to mesh with the cam gears. Now, they might be a little bit one way or the other. They might need to twitch a little bit. So just be cognizant of that. Make sure it doesn't go too far and go over to like number 3 or go too far and go to like the center of the engine. That means you'll be 1 tooth off down here. So be kind of careful with that. When he drops in, keep him, as straight as possible. And what's going to happen is he's going to come to about that point. And more than likely, you have, I don't know what the odds are, but more than likely he's going to stop right there. Now you're meshed with the cam because you felt that and you felt this, twitch a little bit, but it didn't seat all the way in the manifold. So what's the problem? How come he won't go down? Because the oil pump keyway isn't right. Now, here's the cool part. You're done with the distributor, basically. Let it sit in there. It's fine. Come back to the front of the engine and start cranking it over. As you crank it over, that shaft for the oil pump is going to spin, and eventually this thing will just drop right in. You don't have to align this and align that, and then, oh shit, I hope the oil pump is right, and let gravity do its job. So you're gonna come to, like I said, about here, and you're gonna have about a half inch, and it won't seat all the way. Your gasket won't touch. Just let that rest right there. You're gonna be meshed here most of the way. So your timing is still gonna be on. You're still gonna be on that number one, but now you're cranking over, and now you'll see it. It's pretty fun to watch because you're like, yep, now I got it. If your oil pump isn't turning, you're gonna have a bad time with your engine, I promise. So you wanna make sure this goes down. Another thing to be really careful of, and I've seen this on a couple of engines, where the heads get decked or the block gets decked, and this thing doesn't seat all the way, even though you're on the oil pump, even though everything's meshed, it still won't seat all the way. And that's because you don't have enough room to go down. So you might have to double up on the gasket, use it as shims, and that's okay as long as you have everything tight. Now, on the block, you have a little fork that goes right here. So you're gonna, first thing you're gonna do is do that blocks, that there's a little bolt back here, like where my fingers meet. And that fork holds it to the intake manifold. So now you can start the engine and you can still rotate this slightly in order to get the 15, 17 degrees. You'll have to use a timing light or whatever. If you want to get it exact, you can use a timing light. If you want to do it like I love doing it by ear. And then I have a cheater because I have the sniper, so I can see the RPMs. But I like doing it by ear first and rotating. When the engine's running, I'll rotate this just a little bit. As long as that fork is nice and snug and this isn't, bouncing up and down trying to eject itself out of the car, just make sure it's snug and enough so you can rotate it with a firm grip. And you can rotate it and you can hear the engine. It'll be like, good, good. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, no, 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 go back. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. You can hear it as you're slowly rotating this. So you can do that and then get a timing light, make sure, everything's set. That's a really good way to do it. Okay, so timing is pretty, not many videos. Okay, so timing is in relation to how quickly you want that spark to get to that compression stroke. Do you want that spark just before the compression stroke, when you're fully compressed, just after the compression stroke? And you want it, of course, dead center, right? Immediately when you're at peak, everything is compressed. You want that spark to give you the biggest bang. So if your spark is early, you're not going to have a good bang. If your spark is late, you're going to get knocked. It's not a good bang. So you want to try and time that where, this thing's spinning insanely fast. I mean, I can't spin it as fast as the engine can. So as this thing's spinning around, you're adjusting the cap where that point contacts. You're adjusting it to where the spark is timed perfectly to send down to the spark plug and ignite the air fuel mixture. So when this comes over, when this rotates over, that when it contacts this, that is going to be at the very top of your compression stroke. Most air, most fuel, best horsepower, all that. Now, if you go past that, like if I rotate it, you're going to hear the engine go because it doesn't like that, and you're going to get knocking, and that's not good either. So you want to make sure that it's not too early because you're kind of wasting gas. It's not a good way to do it. And you don't want to be too late because that's kind of hard on the engine, and you don't want that. You want it to be dead on, and that's why you can reach in there and rotate it slightly until you find that optimal spark part, and then lock it down. Then you can come back, check it with the timing light, whatever. What does the degrees mean in timing? Okay, so the degrees What is I just noticed there's markings on here. It says 141. That's all it says. I mean, this is nicely machined and all, but not what I want. So timing, advance and retard timing relates to RPMs, and the faster you go, the more advanced you need the timing. So at wide open throttle, you're probably going to want, I don't know, 25, 30 degrees or something. So that's where this guy comes in, the vacuum advance. It'll actually move this section. I don't know why I'm holding that. It'll move this section more. That way, when you're coming around faster, it'll get that spark timed correctly to send that down to the combustion chamber. So as this turns, boom. And then when you're lower RPM, you don't need that much advance. So see, I'm holding the shaft so that it doesn't move. And this guy is advancing. And you can kind of see the mechanism inside and how it works. He's locked right there. He's open. So this would be 0, right? We can't go backwards. And then he starts to engage at probably 2 or 3. So the degrees is how many degrees in 360. So when you're running wide open throttle, 7 or 8,000 RPMs, you want more advanced timing because you want it to get there quicker because you're running this much faster than before. Does that, hopefully that's computing correctly. It's a little hard to explain. The timing is about getting that spark to the combustion chamber at its optimal point. So if you have to advance it because you're going, much more RPMs, you need to add time in order to make up for that extra RPM. Bad timing can do a lot of stuff. Anything from, I mean, just really rough idle to, depending on what engine, if you have an interference engine, it can really hurt that stuff. But there's a myriad of other factors. You need to make sure that all of the plug wires are correct. Especially on a distributor system. Now, if you're working on a coil pack system, that's something totally different. But again, you need to make sure those are wired correct because but usually the harness has a limit. You can only, this one goes all the way to the end, this one only goes here, and this one only goes here. So with coil packs, it's a little bit different. And with interference engines, it's a little different. With a small block Chevy, it's not terrible, but there's definitely tons of stuff you can check prior to starting the car and running the car. And the other good part is these things are incredibly robust. I mean, they've made more than 100 million of those. Is that incredible? That's just Chevy. That doesn't include companies like Blueprint or Nelson or any of those guys. Over 100 million engines. That's nuts, man. These things are pretty robust. They can take a lot without blowing up. So that's the good part. If you do screw up, they're pretty forgiving, but they definitely give you a chance to get it right. And with ignition and timing, there's a bunch of different stuff you can do to get it right, at least get it a lot closer and get it running and driving and all of that stuff. So it can screw up an engine. It makes it run a lot worse. There's way more damaging stuff. You can, depending on the fueling system, if you have a carburetor, you can get hydrolock where it's not igniting on the compression stroke. It's trying to ignite on the exhaust stroke. So you're chamber will fill up with fuel and air, and it'll become locked. It's like a suction cup. So they call it hydrolocking because it's semi-liquid and it can't pull back from, it can't crank back over because there was no spark to blow that stuff up. So you can have that happen, and that's hard on rods and camshafts and everything else and oil pumps and all of that. So you can have that, but getting the timing correct, like I said, the biggest thing is to get top dead center. Once you get top dead center, you can do a myriad of things with the car. So if you're always able to find top dead center on the compression stroke, you can tackle most timing stuff, most mechanical stuff with just being able to do that one little thing. Hydrolock and vapor lock are sort of the same thing. Hydrolock is obviously hydro, water, fuel, some type of liquid. Vapor is usually air. So when you have a light air fuel mixture, you can get what's called vapor lock. And I've seen this happen, and I've seen it more at higher altitudes. But when I worked on the trail crew in Steamboat, we had a whole bunch of the service trucks. We had Ford F-250s, and they would vapor lock all the time, especially in the heat. You have that altitude with, at 10,000 feet, 80 degrees is a lot. And you would have vapor lock on, we would get at least one truck a week that would vapor lock. So it's sort of in the same vein. The problem is you're making it very difficult for the engine, for that piston to come back. And, you've jammed everything. It's like Chinese finger cuffs. You're like, I can't come back. And then this other one can't go up. You've made it very difficult on the engine. That's the good part about small blocks. They're really robust. They can handle that. If you vapor lock it or hydrolock it, just shut it off, pull a spark plug, let it air out. If you can, blow it out, whatever, vacuum it out, and put the spark plug back in. And you'll have to do it on all of them, which is the part that sucks because you don't know which one, hydro locked. So you just do it on all of them. And the more cylinders you have, the more work it is. The steps to finding TDC. And how do you know if you're on a compression or exhaust stroke? Okay, I talked about the compression exhaust stroke earlier, but I'll keep it super simple. I have to get this out of my hands because it's greasy. It's not greasy, it's oily. That's the difference. And that's because it was in the car for 2 years. So I got to get that out of my hands. And I have to get the stuff out of my hands. So I'll bring you guys over and I'll show you. I'll show you top dead center as best I can. So let me grab the camera. Let's see if I can bring you down here. And see if I can get a light here. Need to find something magnetic-y. That'll work. No, it won't. All right, hang on. So let's bring you guys past the radiator hose. Whoa, sorry. All right. Let me see if I can get in here. Okay. Why won't you stay still? Okay. Yeah, of course. When I try to pull you off, it's extremely difficult. But when I ask you to stay put, you just fall over. So hopefully you guys can see that right there. This is our timing mark, and this chrome piece is actually hooked to the engine block, and it's in a very specific place. And this is our damper, the black part. Now, when I rotate this over, there are timing marks on the damper, and I don't know, I think So there you go. That's a little better. Oh, wow. That's really bright in there. Okay. So those are your marks. This is before top dead center, and this is after top dead center. And there's your zero. Your zero's right there. Hopefully you guys can read all that. I know it's really bright. I'm sorry. So depending on what you're doing, it gives you marks here for how many degrees you are past top dead center or before or after. So that's, and then the bolt is right here. And you turn this clockwise. That's it. And just keep turning clockwise. So that, and then you pull, before you start cranking over, pull the number one spark plug, which is this guy right here. That's your number one spark plug. Driver's side, all the way to the front. I should say left side, all the way to the front, because you could be in the UK. That's your number one plug on a small block Chevy. Now, different engines have different plugs and different orientations and all of that. So you have to check with the manufacturer. So you pull that plug out and you put your thumb on there. As you crank this over, put your right thumb on there, use your left hand to crank. And if it's sucking your thumb in, you're on the exhaust stroke or on the intake stroke. If it's pushing your thumb out, you're on the exhaust, you're on the compression stroke. It's trying to, compress air. So you do that and then watch the marks down here. You'll get really close to zero and you can let go. You're on your compression stroke. Then you can get to zero on the timing mark. And then when you're at zero, you're at top dead center. That's it. It sounds kind of like a pain in the ass, but it's actually not that bad. And then I'll show you, I'll break it out again just for you guys. Oh, my nose is running because it's getting cold here. I have this, and this is a TDC whistle or compression stroke whistle. So he has a whistle on this end, and he hooks into the spark plug on this end. So take the spark plug out, put this guy in place. You rest it anywhere. It's loud as shit. And you can crank it over. And if he doesn't make any noise, you're not on the compression stroke. When you're on the compression stroke, that's when he'll whistle. And you can hear him whistle until he gets to zero. And then once he gets past zero, he will shut off. He was like, shh. It'll turn off almost immediately. So these are about $20 on Amazon. They're very, very handy. You can use them for a ton of stuff. They work in multiple cars, 6, 8, 10, 12 cylinders, 4 cylinders, doesn't matter. Work on lawnmower. Well, need an adapter. But see how this has 2 different thread sizes on it? So it has the smaller and then the larger. So that's why it works on a ton of different cars. I can use it on the Viper. I can use it on the Neon or the Miata, whatever. This works really great for finding TDC. What was the next question? After top dead center, what's next? That depends on what you're doing. So if you are doing the distributor, like we had talked about, once you get to top dead center, you can remove your old distributor. You can put your new one in. Like I said, your oil pump drive, that little keyway right there probably won't line up, but that's okay. Put this guy at about the number 6 cylinder. So if we're in the engine, he's going to be kind of off to the side. And then our point is actually going to be up towards the number 1. So when he's in there, he's going to be at almost a 90-degree angle from the vacuum. Drop this guy in. You're going to feel him mesh with the cam gear, which there you go. You can see the cam gear there. I do it all, black on black on black. And then when he drops in, this guy might rotate just a tiny bit just because these teeth are not very fine. So he'll line up there and he'll go about a little more than halfway, 2/3 of the way in. And now you have correct timing. You're good to go. You'll go back to your crank. You'll turn it clockwise. Now you're still in time, but your oil pump keyway is probably not aligned. So as you turn this clockwise, you turn the crank clockwise, this is going to turn. You're still in time, but it's going to slowly turn until it goes kaplink and drops in and drives your oil pump now. That's it. And then your fork, see this lip right here? This lip is where the fork goes and holds your distributor onto the block. You have a gasket here, and it just goes clink, and there's a bolt back here that holds that fork down. So that's a distributor. Again, then you put the cap with the wires on, hook up your vacuum to your carb or your EFI system, then tighten the 4 screws, make sure your plug wires are going to the correct cylinders. This is a huge deal because I've had ones where it was one plug off and this thing just it was on full advance the whole time, trying to get to that next plug, just to idle. So make sure your plugs are correct. And there's tons of layouts. You can just do small block Chevy spark plug or distributor layout. I don't know what you search for, but it's pretty simple. Make sure your plug wires are on. Then you can start the car. And then, like I said, you can either use a timing light, which is a great way to do it, and that gets you stupid accurate. But for me, I'll do it kind of old school. Since this collar will be a little bit loose, enough for me to turn this, I will turn this a little bit until I hear the idle correct. And you'll be able to turn it by hand just with the cap on. And it's not going to shock you or anything. Everything's really insulated. So you can rotate this and you'll hear the engine go, brrr, or I'll do in words. Oh, better. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. Oh, no. Oh, go back. That was so much better. No, that's so much better right there. That's what the engine will do. You'll be able to hear that in the idle and how the engine turns over. Then you can go back with the timing light. You'll aim the timing light at that same mark, and you'll make sure that the timing is correct. Again, rotating the distributor, or if you have more complex systems with vacuum advance and stuff, you'll be able to adjust it with this, either with a computer or the best way to do it, though, to get it the closest is just by hand, and then double check with the timing light. You might need to do little tiny tweaks. And it takes a little tiny tweak between, oh crap, this feels, oh no, yes, that's it. That's all it takes. Maybe 3 degrees of turning on this can go from this thing will not start to, oh my God, it sounds so good. That's all it really takes. And distributors can get pretty expensive. There's $500-$600 distributors. The HEIs like these, probably about $300 to $400. There's crazy. I mean, start getting into pro mod stuff. You start getting into big stuff, and then like Top Fuel they run dual distributors, and those things are, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 each. They're crazy expensive, but they're also like perfectly machined. I mean, they're amazing. So that's how you do that. It should take about, for a complete rookie who's never done it before, it should take you about 2 hours to replace a distributor. For someone who's done it before, it should take you half an hour, 45 minutes, if you have the tools in your pocket. It's not too terrible. If you have OCD like I do, and you're routing plug wires in a very specific way and doing custom wire routing and stuff, it's going to take you a lot longer. But that's the basics for getting it correct. So if you have a distributor system, either a coil or with a coil or with an HEI, which has the coil kind of built into the cap, check that your spark plug wires are going to the correct cylinders. And then you can also check the timing by loosening the fork just to where this is like snug, where it's kind of hard to turn the cap. And that way, when it's idling, you're not turning it and then it goes back a little bit. So you can do that and just barely do your little tweaks and then get ready with the wrench and tighten it down. And then you'll have your timing really, really close. When you come back with the timing light, you have to loosen this up again to get it exactly 100% dead on. But to get it idling, you can do that basic timing right there. So hopefully that explains like super basic timing. There's a ton more involved when you start changing air fuel ratios and start doing higher RPMs and you start doing big lumpy cams and all of that stuff. I saw a cam, it was called the titty shaker. I'm like, oh, that's just awesome. But you'll see these like pro mod cars or even these old pro street cars. Not, I shouldn't say old, seasoned pro street cars that have these cams. It's just like, and it's like, there's no way this car runs. Then he, hops on the street and is just gone. So when you start messing with timing like that and where you want idle to be, where your red line is, that's where the advance is going to come into play. So also with cold starts, you're going to have that because you're running more fuel, that sort of thing. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you can simplify it by breaking it down into steps. So don't try and do, Koenigsegg Jesco. What is his engine called? The Black Magic or Black Hole, Black Deep Space, whatever. Don't try and do any of that shit. This is keep it simple. Don't overload yourself and don't freak out too bad. Find top dead center, pull out the old distributor, put in the new distributor. And you know what's funny is that oil keyway is going to be pretty damn close. When you find top dead center and pull your distributor, your oil keyway is going to be pretty close. You'll go to crank the engine clockwise. It might just drop in right away, or you might have to do like 1 7/8 turns and then it drops right down. So you're going to be pretty damn close when you line this up correctly, and you're going to be pretty close. But that's about it for timing and replacing distributors and stuff. For the basics, like I said, there's hardcore stuff you can get in with digital timing, and like the boxes, like the MSD box that I have here, which is a digital timing box that is going on this car. And this gets a little more complicated. This is sort of computer controlled timing plus the regular analog or physical timing. So combining those two is pretty interesting. It's sort of halfway between full electronic ignition and distributor and coil ignition. So I like to think of it as a really badass coil ignition. And when you have 485 horsepower, you want a good spark. You don't want a half-ass spark. So you want to make sure you get that spark when that piston and all of that compressed fuel and air, boom, that's where you want it. You don't want it down here because that's just not good. And you also don't want it after because that's where you get knocked and bad things happen. So yeah, getting the timing right is pretty pretty critical. But to get the basics down that just covers your ass and the car runs and drives and you'll be okay, shouldn't take all that long. So hopefully that answers your question with that. And if you do have other questions, you can feel free to ask, either put it in the comments or send it in the chat here. Um, all right. So we're going to move on to the next part of the video, and I wanted to show you guys about the paint stuff and the hazing and how the hell are you going to take care of that. First, I want to show you guys a quick tip and trick. These millipedes, man. These guys. See, and the problem is I stepped on two earlier because I don't see them. So there's one. Now I got to look as I go to the door. Make sure I don't step on any. It's been better the last few days, but damn, these guys just come out of everywhere. And then I don't see them and I step on it. So I'm going to pull this light out and close this hood a little. Although I'll probably have to open it back up again. I'll just leave it like this for now. So, like I told you guys, I painted that rail. I'm going to bring you in a little closer. So I painted this rain rail here. And I guess you can't really see it. Now you can really see it. So I painted this rain trough. Normally there's a wiper here. There's a wiper nozzle that goes there. And the other cool part about this, and you'll see this on 70s, 80s, 90s GM cars, is you have the tag. And this tag is from the company who made the body. And it says Body by Fisher. And I believe it has the VIN number and some other stuff. And they like wire brushed this when they painted the car, just so you could read the stuff. Now these two screws, it normally mounts right there. Of course, you guys cannot see that. Normally mounts right there. So before I painted it, I pulled this off. This is going to get cleaned up, and it'll be silver, and it'll be clear coated. And then it'll get screwed back into the car. So I'm going to show you guys how to take care of this overspray. Now, when I sprayed this, I sprayed up, and it kind of went up on the car. Now, I'll show you before. Well, let me just get this. I'll show you guys a cool way to do trim. So you see this edge? Old license plate. Follows with the can. You can also use cardboard box. And then when you go to the other side, flip it around, because it'll start dripping. Your overspray will start dripping. Use this to get a nice clean edge without a ton of overspray everywhere else. So license plate, piece of straight cardboard, works great. So now let's talk about this overspray. Now I didn't tape this off. Normally I would tape this off and I would have a nice clean edge and just pull the tape away. But I have overspray and I wanted to show you guys how to use this stuff. It's not it's not difficult in any way, but it is very effective and it's a little tedious. It's made by a company called Goof Off. And again, they don't pay me jack. I had to actually buy this. And it's called Overspray Remover. So what you do not do is apply this directly to the surface. You put this into a rag or into a paper towel, and it is not something you want to huff. So we'll probably open the door after we clean off a section here because it is used in well-ventilated area. It says right here, if the work area is not well ventilated, do not use this product. Okay, well, we do have ventilation, but we're not going to use it right now. So this is a paper towel folded in half and shake Sonora, and we spray it onto the paper towel, and then we wipe. And then we keep going until all of this is gone. So there you go. You guys can see how well that works. It brings the paint right out onto this. Takes a little while with a few passes, but it works really well. So there we go. And then we can use we can do another pass to get this lighter stuff. But that's basically it. So this stuff in a paper towel, and then for doing edges, just be careful of the edge. I'm not talking about the guitar player for you too. And you get yourself a nice crisp edge. It's not terribly difficult. Now I'll show you two more cool things. Also, you want to do that overspray remover within 24 hours of painting. So don't let that paint, the longer the paint cures, the harder it is to get off. So, the harder it is to remove. There's two other things you can use, and this is me being very weird because I do all this detail-oriented work. So you can also put that overspray remover right there. You can spray it under a Q-tip, and that way you can get inside stuff and you can do fine lines. If you're looking for even more detail, you can spray the end of a toothpick and you can pick out little teeny tiny bits. So when you're doing detailed stuff, inside like trim or wherever, places you can't really reach with a paper towel, you can use a Q-tip for that. And then if you're doing detailed stuff, like in between VIN numbers or, whatever, you can use the toothpick. So you can soak them with that. Again, apply it to do not apply it directly. Apply it to the tool or to the paper towel or whatever, and wipe it off with that. And then once you're done, you've cleaned off the majority of the paint, you can use a quick detailer, you can use a glass cleaner, and that'll get most of the other stuff. The overspray remover is going to break down 90% of that paint, and the rest of it, I'll just get, I didn't have it out, but where's the glass cleaner? Damn it, I'm almost out of this. Always reloading. This stuff is awesome. It's been around forever and ever and ever. It's great. So highly recommended. No ammonia, foaming action. So stuff I just wiped down. I will come back. I really don't want that. You can also use a rag. I'm using paper towels because they're here. So now you just use a glass cleaner. And I don't know why that stuff smells like 8th grade, but it does. So I obviously need to use glass cleaner on the inside, but there you go. I'll bring you guys back over so you can see it. So there you go. Here's our oversprayed side. And here's the side that we just did overspray remover and some glass cleaner. It looks awesome. So can you even see the sniper? So if you have overspray, you know, up in here, inside trim pieces, like this stuff is, I don't know if it's anodized or whatever. You can also do like dried or 3/4 dried overspray remover, and it'll usually take off the top layer of paint first. So if you want to do stuff like this isn't painted, this is baked on enamel. So when you want to take the stuff off of this, you can use semi-dried remover and it'll work great. Also, you can use the overspray remover for doing blending between old paint and new paint. It actually works great for doing that. And then you have to sand, polish, and all of that. But it's great for blending. So if you're trying to blend between two, you can sort of dull that hard line if you have a hard line. But that's about it. I'm glad you guys stuck around on Thanksgiving, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed the distributor talk and the timing talk. Hopefully that that stuff helped out. And I'm going to finish cleaning off this windshield so this car looks fairly normal. But I don't know if anyone noticed, but we don't have the damaged parts here. We also, this got trimmed down to follow that shape. We have some protective paint in here. We've got a bunch of stuff here. The whole top front edge here all got redone, just a coat of paint. Again, this is all temporary paint. That's why I'm using, you know, $6 cans of paint just until it goes to body shop to get its actual Cadillac Diamond White. We're going to use this stuff because it's easy, protects from rust, protects from corrosion, protects from sun damage, all of that. So using that stuff in the meantime, just for touch up. And like I said, we did touch up here on the corner, the roof corners up here. And on the other side, we did the same kind of thing. All along this cowl edge, redid that, and then did that rain gutter in the front, just because when the hood is down, you can still see that whole thing. So, and then we'll do the nice touch-up thing with the Body by Fisher, which I just dropped. And we'll get this looking really, really nice and put that back into place. It'll be a silver piece, and we'll kind of face this nicely. It'll be a nice silver piece that'll mount right in there, and we'll have the original markings back on the car, which I think is kind of cool. That's just me being weird. What else do we have? Trying to figure out what this was. This is the other vacuum line. Okay, goes on there. Yeah, that's about it. I'm going to clean up the rest of this windshield. I know you guys don't want to watch that. That's extremely boring. And you also saw how well that overspray remover works. You can also use it on, like I said, on panels, but on glass, it works really great. So If you're doing something like this and you're like, I don't really want to mask that off, it'll take way too long. It's a waste of tape. I have all this overspray remover. It's going to work great. The downside is I definitely have to open a door. That stuff is pretty harsh. So we'll open the garage door over there behind the Viper and get some air in here. But that is about it for tonight. I got to look what else is on the list. We have the MSD install. Oh, I didn't show you guys I show you guys the gauge pod. I don't know if I showed you guys the gauge pod. So a bunch of the wiring for the gauge pod got moved and rewired underneath here. And we currently have it set up. Hit that button and it's going to tell us PSI for the tank and then PSI in the corners for the bags. Now, 2 days ago, I had 100 PSI in each of the bags and 195 in the tank. And it's 162. The front bags are at 97 and the rear bags are at 95. So all the air is pretty much holding. The tank, I believe that's a warm-cold discrepancy because we have cooled off down here by about 30 degrees. So the cool part is that stuff is wired and it's all working perfectly. We have a new petcock in there for draining the tank. I think I showed you guys the old petcock, just in case I didn't. Oh, I'm probably going to get hammered for saying that word, aren't I? Did I? I don't think I threw it out. No, here it is. So this is what happens. This is an actual thing. It's called a petcock. And this is what happens inside. See that rust? You get condensation in there. And so as you tighten this, it actually closes. And then as you loosen it, that part raises up and air comes out around the edge. And water. But this is several years and it gets drained, once or twice a year, but it still has corrosion on the inside. Still condensation and water that works in there. And the technical term for that is called a petcock. That is not my name for it. That is not slang. That is what it's called. So gauge pod is working great. Just need to finish that wiring. That wiring in combination with the alternator is going to be the last of the major wiring. The car, I'll do a startup for you guys once I get all the plug wires routed. But the car should, before I had to actually throttle, maintenance, all this stuff, the car would not idle very well. I am betting now with the distributor, these new wires, I will bet you I can stand outside the car and start it, and it runs and idles perfect. I do have new software in the Sniper, so I'm going to have to go back in and reset idle air control and rev limiter and wide open throttle timing and all this other stuff. So I'll have to do some programming on that, but I will bet you that the car starts. You can start it just with the key. Don't have to be in the car. That's my guess. That's my hope. Also, I'm really hoping that the new software fixes the coolant temp sensor, which was bouncing all over the place. So I'm hoping that the new software adjusts that because that'd save me $30 in a coolant temp sensor and about half an hour replacing one. So I'm going to get back on cleaning this windshield and then I'm going to finish wiring up. I don't know where the hell that came from. Is that me? Maybe. I don't know. Where did the sparks come from? The fireworks. Anyway, finish cleaning the windshield and get those spark plug wires done on the other side so we can run the car and make sure that everything works perfect. Coolant, uh, oil. We're also, I forgot, and this is an interesting thing with Blueprint engines. They have conventional, non-synthetic break-in oil, and then for the first 10,000 miles, which since I don't have an odometer, I have no coolant. But again, this car has probably 10 miles on it. So for the first 10,000 miles, all conventional oil for this engine. And so the oil that I have, not going to work. I have to go get new oil. And once this thing becomes sort of a regular car, we'll start keeping track of mileage and we'll probably replace it. Um, probably replace it once, I don't know, we'll probably do, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 hours and then replace it with all conventional. They recommend conventional. I'm sticking with conventional. This engine was not cheap, and that's their recommendation. It's still under warranty, so I'm gonna keep going with that. Um, and I'm okay with it. Conventional oil, synthetic. It's basically it's different additives, and some's made with natural gas, some's made with other stuff. So we'll stick with conventional oil. I just thought that was kind of interesting that they highly recommend it. The break-in oil for the first, I think, 1,000 miles, 500 miles was the break-in oil, and then go to regular conventional for the rest of the oil changes. We're going to stick with that. We're going to Wix filter, keep it simple, and everybody will be happy. So next one, hopefully we do a startup video. You guys can hear this thing run, idle, and we'll do some tweaking on the Sniper. And also, with any good fortune, we have the key off situation taken care of. That double diode thing, I thought for sure that was going to work. I had it in my head. I was so excited. Ah, that was going to be so awesome, and I completely bombed out on it. So that's how it works. We're still gonna run one diode no matter how we wire this up. I'm just gonna do that for safety and for backup. But yeah, we'll do a startup on this, and I'll try and bring it up to speed. I'll show you guys some of the cool things you can do with the Sniper, and I guess that's about it for tonight. If you guys have any questions, comments, whatever, definitely put them down there. I'm happy to answer anything for you guys. If you don't want to put it in public, you guys know how to get a hold of me personally, my text, email, whatever. You can find me on social media. It's just my name, and happy to answer questions there and keep it anonymous. You don't have to be embarrassed. Everyone started somewhere. I started when I was 5 years old, and my dad mistakenly gave me a socket set for Christmas, and it took my mom's VW bug cylinder heads off. Yeah, I got grounded. I got grounded hard. So we all started somewhere. Don't be embarrassed. That's why you guys are here, and that's why I love you guys being here. Is that you guys want to learn this stuff? You want to go either super basic or you want to go crazy advanced. You want to go racing at the track. You want to go do fun stuff like the limo. Then you guys are in the right place, because I'm happy to show you how to do all this stuff. You can take whatever I'm showing you, put it into your project, and make it your own. That's the fun part. When you guys learn from this, that's my payoff, man. I don't get paid anything for this. I'll keep doing it as long as I can. So as long as you guys are enjoying it and learning from it, then I'm going to keep doing it. So I appreciate all the new subscribers. I've seen a few the last few days. That's awesome. You guys are great. And I know most of you guys are in a tryptophan coma right now. So I hope everyone had a really nice Thanksgiving and enjoyed their days off work. I don't get any days off, so I'm going to keep going. And let's see, tomorrow, possibly in here tomorrow, more than likely Saturday night. So I have a friend in town from South Carolina. Dinner tomorrow night. I'm not sure what time I'm going to get back is the problem, and I don't want to hit you guys up at 2 a.m. So that's why tomorrow night is a maybe. But definitely more this weekend. Saturday, we have Sarasota Cars of Coffee. And there was something else on Saturday too. I forgot, but I'll remember that. So probably Saturday night. And again, maybe we do a matinee on Sunday. I don't know if you guys like the afternoon ones or not, but they seem pretty popular. So the afternoon ones are great too because we can run the car without pissing off the neighbors. So yes, this thing's loud. It's supposed to be really quiet. I paid a lot for it to be really quiet, and it's not. So maybe we do a matinee with starting and idling and revving and all that stuff on Sunday. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay. That'll give me time to tweak some of this stuff, make sure distributor's all correct and everything, and nothing's catching on fire. We always like when things don't catch on fire. And yeah, that's it. So again, thanks everyone for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate it. Hope you had a great holiday. And questions, comments below. Thanks to the new subscribers. What else am I missing? I think that's it. Don't forget to show someone that you love them today. Give them a kiss on the cheek. Give them a kiss on the tip of their nose. Hold their hand. Give it a squeeze. It's really important for them, but it is far more important for you. All right. I will catch you folks later. Thanks. Have a great night. Look how clean that windshield is. Should paint it more often.